My 19-year-old daughter spent 3 months organizing an extended family Christmas party for 26 children. 5 minutes before start, my mom called. "We all decided we will celebrate at your sister's place. Don't bother coming." I didn't yell. I did this. 3 months later, they had to move town. It was 5 minutes before the first knock on the door should have come when my phone rang. I was crouched behind the snack table, trying to fix a gingerbread man's face. One of his eyes had fallen off, and I was sticking it back on like it was life or death. Because somehow, it felt like it was. The frosting, the folded napkins, the garland, it all mattered. My daughter Daisy was standing across the room in a red velvet dress with silver snowflakes and elf ears. Her cheeks were pink from nerves, not blush, and she was going over the welcome speech for the 5th time, half muttering to herself, half performing for the stuffed reindeer in the corner. She looked electric, like joy had a pulse. And then my phone buzzed. I didn't want to answer it, but I saw the name on the screen, Mom, and the kind of dread that doesn't come from nowhere hit me like an instinct. I answered. "Hi." She didn't even say hello. Just this. "We all decided we'll celebrate at your sister's place instead. Don't bother coming." I sat back on my heels. I blinked. "What?" "We're already here. At Lauren's." It made more sense. Made more sense. Sure, because nothing screams logic like canceling a 26-kid Christmas party 5 minutes before it starts. "She's been planning this for months," I said. "She's 19, Heather. It's not a real event. You can't keep feeding her this illusion." She made a full schedule. Games, crafts, printed menus for cocoa toppings. "We were worried," she continued, her voice soft but immovable, "about safety, liability, 26 children running around with no professional supervision. It didn't feel appropriate. She's been volunteering at kids' camps for years. She's not licensed. She's not trained. She babysits Lauren's kids. For free. Every week. She's family. That's different. And Lauren already had everything set up. The tree, the gifts, the food. It's done. We just went with what made the most sense." "We?" I asked. She didn't pause. "Lauren, me, your stepdad, everyone." Everyone. Like we weren't part of that word. I couldn't speak. Not because I didn't have words, but because every word I had felt like it would come out as a scream. "Just tell Daisy not to take it personally," she added. "It's nothing against her. It's just better this way." And then she hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone like it might catch fire in my hands. In the living room, the speakers clicked on. Daisy's carefully curated playlist began, Bing Crosby's White Christmas, slowed down acoustic version. Her favorite. I stood up slowly and walked into the hall. I couldn't face her yet. I tried calling Lauren. She answered after 2 rings, kids shouting in the background. "Hey!" she chirped. "Need something?" "You're seriously hosting it?" I asked. "What do you mean? It's already happening. The kids are decorating cookies. It's chaos, but fun." "You knew Daisy was hosting." "She was trying to host. There's a difference. She's been working for months." "I know, and it's sweet, but we needed something that felt a little more stable." "You mean adult?" "I mean safe, legal, controlled. You know, not whimsical glitter chaos." "She made allergy cards, Lauren. She has a binder. A literal binder. Look, I love her, but she's not a professional. She's not even particularly charismatic." The air left my lungs. "She made 26 goodie bags with personalized stickers. And that's cute. But let's be honest, Heather, she's not going to make a career out of pipe cleaners and story time. At some point, she needs to grow up. She's 19. Exactly." I hung up. Not because I ran out of arguments, but because if I kept listening, I'd drive over there and burn their peppermint garland to ash. Back in the living room, Daisy was triple-checking the reindeer ring toss. "Do you think it's too hard for the little ones?" she asked. I could scoot the cones closer. I couldn't answer. I was still standing there like my soul had short-circuited. My phone buzzed again. Group chat. Extended family. A photo. Lauren's living room. Balloons. Wrapping paper. Arya in the glitter crown Daisy made. Owen holding a cookie that Daisy had baked. A caption underneath. So grateful to Lauren for stepping up last minute. Christmas magic. No mention of Daisy. Another photo. My parents' clinking glasses, big smiles, framed by a tree Daisy had offered to decorate. She looked at me from across the room. Mom? My face must have said everything. Her smile dropped. Who's at Lauren's house? She asked. I didn't respond fast enough. She walked over, slowly, took the phone from my hand, and she saw it. The pictures, the messages, the smiling faces of people who should have been here. She stared at the screen like it was in a language she couldn't read. Then she said very softly, Did they know I planned this? Yes, I whispered. They knew. She didn't speak. She just walked over to the puppet stage, turned off the little spotlight she'd rigged with her allowance, and sat down on the floor. I followed. I crouched beside her, reached for her hand. Sweetheart. She shook her head. I just wanted them to see it, she said. I thought if they saw it, they'd, I don't know, believe in me. Her voice cracked at the end, like her vocal cords were giving out. I know, I said. I thought maybe they'd finally think I was good at something. You are? She looked at me. Then why didn't they come? I didn't have an answer that wouldn't make her hate them forever. And maybe that's what they deserved. But she was still my daughter, and I still believed, stupidly, that she shouldn't have to hate people to learn they don't love her back the right way. She stood up. Let's pack it up. Daisy. No one's coming. The marshmallows are drying out. The cocoa's going to get weird. I don't want to waste the cookies. She started stacking goodie bags. Carefully, like they were made of glass. And me? I stood there for a second. Then I walked to the kitchen, picked up the phone again, and started making calls. 3 months later, my sister had to move out of town. You'd think the worst part of that night was watching Daisy peel candy cane name tags off a table she'd spent 3 months decorating. It wasn't. The worst part was that deep down, I wasn't even surprised. Because some stories start with a party that didn't happen. Mine started long before that. Before gingerbread cookies, before puppet scripts, before Daisy ever handed me a crayon and told me I was in charge of art direction. It started in a different kitchen, with a different girl, crying over something she didn't have the words for. Me. My mom got pregnant with me in college. It was a one-time thing. A party, a guy she never named, and a hangover that turned out to be me. She didn't find out until it was too late. Not her words, at least not out loud. But you can hear a lot in the silences. She never talked about him. Not once. No name. No story. Just a shrug and a dismissive, it doesn't matter. And maybe it didn't. Maybe it never did. Because by the time I was old enough to notice things, she'd already built a very clear world. I was the thing that derailed it. She didn't finish her degree, moved back in with her mother, got a job she hated, told people she was figuring things out, which is code for doing everything on hard mode while trying not to admit, I regret the baby. She never said I ruined her life. She didn't have to. I could feel it. In the way she sighed when I asked for help. In the way she looked at other people's lives like they were hers in another universe. In the way she forgot to smile when she looked at me. I spent most of my early childhood trying not to be too much. Too loud, too messy, too needy. I failed often. When I was 7, everything changed. She met a man, my future stepdad. He had a nice car, a steady job, and a weirdly intense collection of model trains. I remember him giving me a toy on our first meeting, a puzzle, I think. I said thank you, and he nodded like he was evaluating a resume. 6 months later, they were married. A year after that, Lauren was born. And suddenly, I had a front row seat to the kind of motherhood I hadn't realized existed. It was like watching my mom get rebooted. Warm, patient, affectionate. She cooed, she baked, she wore baby slings and went to parenting workshops and made scrapbook pages with glittery stickers that said things like "Miracle Baby." I used to watch her swaddle Lauren and think, where was that version of you when I was crying over lost mittens in preschool? Apparently that version hadn't been born yet, because Lauren wasn't just the second child, she was the do-over. And me? I was the mistake she never figured out how to love. Don't get me wrong, they didn't lock me in a closet or starve me. They fed me, clothed me, let me live in their house. But there's a difference between being taken care of and being wanted. I stopped asking for things pretty early on because every time I did, it came with a sigh. Help with homework? Sigh. Permission to go on a field trip? Sigh. Ride to a sleepover? Heavy sigh. They'd do it. Sometimes. But not without broadcasting how inconvenient it was. I learned to apologize before I asked for anything. I still do it sometimes. And then years later, because irony never sleeps, I got pregnant at 20. I was in between jobs, barely scraping by, and single. Sound familiar? When I told my mom, she didn't react, just sat there for a second. Then said, "You still have options." I knew what she meant. But it wasn't a conversation. It was a declaration. As if she was saying, don't do what I did. And I can't lie. Part of me almost listened. The part of me that still didn't believe I was capable of not ruining someone's life. But then I heard the heartbeat. And it was the first time in my entire life I felt like something was happening for me. Not to me. So I kept her. And I made a promise right then and there. My baby would never feel like I sighed when she walked in the room. I named her Daisy. She came out screaming like she had a grievance with the world, and then fell asleep in my arms like she forgave it anyway. I didn't know you could fall in love that fast. I also didn't know how hard it would be, or how tired I'd get, or how many nights I'd spend Googling how to get a baby to sleep at 3 a.m. while shoving cold pasta in my mouth like it was a valid dinner. But I figured it out. I got into web design, built a client base, started a little home business. Flexible hours, enough to pay the bills. And Daisy? She was my joy. Messy, loud, full of ideas and plans and imaginary friends she assigned me to babysit when she was busy doing manager stuff. She's always loved kids, not just playing with them, organizing them. Even when she was 10, she'd put together events for the younger kids at church. Obstacle courses made out of couch cushions, magic shows, face painting. She once turned our garage into a princess disco with nothing but string lights and a Spotify playlist. By 13, she was babysitting her cousins, Lauren's kids, for free, every weekend, every holiday. She never complained, because to Daisy, it wasn't work. It was rehearsal. She wanted to be a children's entertainer, a real one, like business cards and everything. She dreamed about it the way other kids dream about being astronauts. And of course, the family mocked her for it. Not always directly, sometimes just with silence, or those careful, well, that's cute, but what's your real plan? Questions. At first it was, you should learn to code. That's where the money is. Then AI became trendy, and suddenly she should be doing something with robots. My stepdad once told her she should go into voice assistant programming because she was good at setting up his Alexa. They never asked what made her happy. They only asked what sounded impressive at dinner parties. This party? It was her way of showing them. Not telling, not asking, showing. That she could organize a full-scale event. That she could lead. That she could build joy from scratch. She didn't want money. She wanted respect. A little awe. Maybe a crumb of pride. Instead, she got silence. Worse than that, she got replaced. And now she knows what I've known for a long time, that sometimes the people who were supposed to believe in you are the ones who need the most convincing. And sometimes, they're not worth convincing at all. There's something strange about watching your kid take down the very party she built with her own hands. Daisy didn't cry. That would have almost been easier. Crying is a release. Crying says, I still care. She just shut off the lights on the puppet stage, one by one, like she was closing shop after a long, pointless shift. Then she started packing up the goodie bags, quietly peeling the glitter stickers off each name tag like they were mistakes. It felt like I was watching a funeral. Not for the party, for the part of her that still believed in them. And that's when I realized I couldn't let it end like this. I stepped out of the room, phone in hand. My fingers were already moving before I even had a plan. I opened my contacts list and started scrolling. Not for family. They'd made their choice. I was done begging people to love my daughter correctly. No. I was looking for everyone else. Friends from the neighborhood, coworkers with kids, moms from Daisy's old after-school group. Anyone with a child under 12 and no Christmas plans. I called the first name on the list. Hey, Kelly, are you busy today? You are? Okay, but hear me out. 20 minutes later, I had 6 yeses. By 30 minutes, we were at 10. Nobody needed convincing. Turns out, a lot of people hadn't planned anything special for Christmas. Some were divorced, some exhausted, some just didn't want to cook. A few sounded downright thrilled. You're saying there's a party? With games? And I don't have to host it? Yes, that's exactly what I was saying. Daisy walked into the hallway as I hung up my 8th call. She was holding the snowman relay cones in a box. Mom? What are you doing? I looked up at her. Resurrecting Christmas. She stared at me. I invited people, I said. My people? Your people? Kids who'd actually appreciate a handmade goodie bag and reindeer bingo. She didn't respond. I added, they're coming. A long pause. How many? I checked my phone. 14 kids. So far. She blinked. Can we do that? Like switch plans? Just like that? We've got hot cocoa, paper snowflakes, and an emotional support elf. We'll be fine. She laughed. Just a little. Then she said, okay, and turned back toward the living room. She started setting it all up again, but this time, her hands didn't shake. The first knock came 20 minutes later. It was my old friend Julie from work, her 2 kids bounding through the door like they'd won the lottery. Daisy met them at the door with a basket of Jingle Bell necklaces and a glittery name chart. Hi, welcome to the North Pole, she chirped, like she hadn't just been crushed under the weight of her entire extended family's indifference an hour ago. 5 more families followed. The house was suddenly full of kids, giggling, yelling, running straight for the games like they'd been rehearsing for this. Daisy led the first round of reindeer freeze dance. She put on the elf hat again. She cracked jokes. She improvised when the snowflake toss fell apart and made it funnier. She was glowing. I stood back and watched her come alive, and I thought, look at her. Look what they threw away. It didn't take long for the parents to notice. She planned all of this? Yes. By herself? Yes. She could charge for this. She should. Someone posted a photo of the puppet show. Then someone else. Then one of the moms posted a boomerang of Daisy leading the candy cane scavenger hunt with a caption that read, "This 19-year-old just saved Christmas for my kids." Meanwhile, her family ditched the entire thing after she spent 3 months planning it. Shameful. She named names. Lauren's, specifically. I didn't ask her to, but I also didn't stop her. The posts started picking up traction. Shares, comments, messages. Other parents chimed in. We were at the other party. We didn't know she planned it. Why didn't anyone say anything? This is so messed up. And then my phone buzzed again. A number I didn't recognize. I picked up. Hi, is this Daisy's mom? Yes. This is Rebecca. We're still at Lauren's. We just saw what's happening online. We didn't know. Didn't know what? That Daisy was the one who planned the original party. Lauren just told us plans changed. Silence. Then, would it be possible to stop by? Even just to say hi? I looked at the clock. It was almost over. I'm sorry, I said. It's too late. Another call. Another relative. They said the same thing. They didn't know. They were told there was a venue change. Now they felt sick. Too little. Too late. Back at the party, Daisy was reading The Grumpy Polar Bear Who Stole the Tinsel to a group of 6-year-olds in a blanket fort. One of the moms turned to me and whispered, "She's really talented." "She's always been," I said. Another mom asked, "Does she do birthdays?" "Not yet," I said. "But she will." And as I said it, Daisy looked up at me, just for a second. She didn't smile, but her eyes said everything. That night, after the last kid left with a goodie bag and sticky fingers, we sat on the couch in the quiet. Daisy still had glitter in her hair. The puppet stage was leaning against the wall. The cocoa station was half empty. One of the snowman cones had a bite taken out of it. Don't ask me how. She exhaled slowly. "That felt real," she said. "It was. Do you think anyone else saw it?" I nodded. "Oh, they saw it." My phone buzzed again. Another comment. Another share. Another message. But I didn't check it. I just looked at my daughter, the one they didn't believe in, the one they underestimated, and I thought, they're going to regret it. They already do. The first call came the next morning. I was halfway through microwaving day-old cocoa when my phone lit up with Mom. No emoji, no exclamation mark. Just pure, institutional disappointment. I should have let it go to voicemail. I didn't. The moment I picked up, she skipped right past hello and dove straight into rage. "What the hell did you do?" No context, no patience, just fury. "Good morning to you too," I said, stirring my cocoa with a candy cane I found stuck to the fridge door. "You've humiliated the entire family online." "I didn't post anything." "Don't play games, Heather. People are calling us, texting, asking questions, judging. Your daughter's little pity party is all over Facebook." I took a sip. Lukewarm, overly sweet, and somehow perfect for this conversation. "Maybe they're not judging you," I said. "Maybe they just saw what you did. We didn't do anything. You didn't show up. That's a start. It was a reasonable decision. No. What would have been reasonable was showing up for your granddaughter." There was a pause. The kind that comes when someone realizes they've lost the upper hand but aren't ready to admit it. Then she hissed, "You need to fix this." That was the moment I smiled. By noon, Lauren had joined the chorus. "You're lucky I'm not suing you," she snapped, texting in all caps like a woman with a law degree from Facebook University. "You let people slander me. You encouraged it." "No one slandered you," I replied. "They told the truth. If that's damaging, maybe examine why it's damaging. You just let it happen, on purpose. You're vindictive." That made me laugh. "You ditched your niece on Christmas Eve and took credit for her work. But yes, clearly I'm the villain. Take it down. All of it." I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my phone, pulled up my photos, and drafted my own post. It wasn't dramatic. I didn't call anyone out by name. I just posted 3 photos. One of Daisy leading the puppet show, one of the reindeer ring toss mid-laughter, and one of the hot cocoa bar, complete with her handwritten chalkboard menu. Then I wrote, "This was my daughter's first solo children's event. She planned every detail for months. The original guests didn't show up, so we opened our doors to friends instead, and she saved Christmas for 24 kids. I've never been prouder. That was it. No shade, no specifics. But the people who needed to understand, they did." The post exploded. Within hours, Daisy's inbox was full. Comments, messages, booking requests. Parents who'd attended wanted her for birthday parties, school events, even a neighborhood spring fair. One message read, "Do you do themed birthdays? My son loves dinosaurs." Another said, "I'd pay a lot for that cocoa bar setup. You've got a real talent." That night, she sat across from me at the kitchen table, laptop open, surrounded by sketches of balloon arches and sample party package names. "Do I sound too desperate if I call it Whimsy and Wonder?" she asked. "No," I said. "You sound like a CEO." She beamed. And I swear to God, in that moment, I saw the girl she was and the woman she was becoming, and both of them were unstoppable. The next morning, the local parenting blog picked up the story. Small outlet, friendly tone. Title: Teen Event Planner Saves Christmas After Last-Minute Family Cancellation. They didn't name names. They didn't have to. People in our circle connected the dots faster than I could refresh the page, and the consequences rolled in. People started distancing themselves from my parents, from Lauren. "Oh, I just assumed you were busy," became the new polite version of "you were awful," and we all know it. Lauren's Instagram comments dried up overnight. The dinner invitations stopped. No more smiley reactions under her family first posts. It turns out, when you build your image on being the golden child, it only takes one snowflake to melt the whole illusion. Another call came that afternoon, this time from my stepdad, a man who hadn't said a single word throughout all of this. "Heather," he started, voice tight, "we're getting calls." "I heard. You need to shut this down." I let the silence hang. Then, "No. Heather, you watched her build that party, and you let it happen. You let Mom do it. You let Lauren take over. You said nothing." More silence. "She's your granddaughter," I said, then corrected myself. "Well, she could have been, if you'd ever treated her that way. You're blowing this out of proportion," she cried in silence so no one would hear her. His voice cracked, not with regret, with panic. "You'll destroy this family." "No," I said, calm and sure. "I'm just done pretending it isn't already broken." And I hung up. Later that week, Daisy launched her website. It had everything: party packages, photos from the event, a little About Me section that read, "I've loved kids' parties since I was a kid myself. My first big solo event didn't go quite as planned, but it turned into something even better." That's when I realized joy doesn't come from approval. It comes from doing what you love. I didn't help her write that. She did it all herself. A few hours after it went live, a mom messaged her to book a kid's Valentine's Day party. And just like that, she had her first paying client. And the family? We blocked them. Every number, every thread, every group chat. We didn't write a dramatic goodbye. No final confrontation. No open door. We just left the building. Because sometimes peace doesn't come from forgiveness. It comes from choosing silence where the noise used to live. And sometimes the only way to heal is to stop inviting the people who keep reopening the wound. Daisy and I sat in the quiet that night. The house still smelled like peppermint and wood glue. She turned to me and said, "Do you think they'll ever apologize?" I thought for a second. "No," I said. "But we don't need them to." She nodded, and then she smiled. Not the smile she gives the world. The one she saves just for me. The one that says, "We're going to be okay." And we are. We didn't ruin the family. We just stopped pretending it wasn't already broken. 3 months later, I found out through Facebook. Well, technically, through Lauren's soft goodbye post on Facebook. A filtered photo of a half-empty living room, a cardboard box labeled Christmas decorations, and a caption that read, "Sometimes the people you thought would always be there are the ones who hurt you most. Here's to new beginnings." Cue the dramatic piano music. Turns out, they moved. Not across the country, just a few towns over, but far enough to avoid questions, far enough to dodge the social fallout. Apparently, when you publicly abandon your teenage niece's Christmas party and then get gently roasted by half the community, the consequences do show up, just not how you expect. Their new neighbors don't know the story, yet. But if they've got Wi-Fi and Facebook memories, it's only a matter of time. As for Daisy, she's booked solid. Easter bunny brunches, birthday princess gigs, a science-themed slime party that got way out of hand in the best possible way. She even hired a friend part-time to help with weekend events. The girl who was told her dreams were childish now has a wait list. But now I want to hear from you. Did I go too far, or not nearly far enough? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the bell.
Hi, quick hello. This is another original story from Talesphere, and in this one, the audacity is kind of unreal. All right, let's get into it.
My husband said about our 7-year-old. I'm so tired of her. I wish we didn't have kids. His mother added, just be nice for a few more weeks. My daughter overheard it and went pale. I stayed quiet and did this. 10 days later, police were involved. If you've never tried to get a 7-year-old through an airport while carrying a medication bag that looks like a travel-sized ICU, congratulations. Your life is probably full of hobbies and peace. My daughter, Katie, has asthma and allergic rhinitis, which is a fancy way of saying her lungs and her nose have personal grudges against the entire Pacific Northwest. Not dramatic, not tragic, just constant. Asthma is a routine. Allergies are a routine. Together, they're a routine that comes with props. Rescue inhaler, controller inhaler, spacer with a mask, saline spray, nasal steroid, antihistamines. A laminated asthma action plan the school nurse treats like sacred scripture. When you parent a kid like Katie, you don't pack. You inventory. That morning, I was doing my usual checklist while trying not to be late for our flight out of Seattle. We had an appointment at a pediatric allergy pulmonology center in another city. Not an emergency, not a heart-stopping rush to the hospital thing. Just a big, annoying, important specialist visit where you answer the same 50 questions and then leave with a new stack of forms. The kind of appointment you wait months for. Katie sat at the kitchen table swinging her legs, eating cereal like she wasn't the reason my calendar looked like a medical conference schedule. Mom, she said, nasal voice thick with allergies. Do I have to do the spray again? Yes, I said, in my calm mom tone, even though my calm mom tone has been held together with caffeine and sheer willpower since 2018. 2 sprays, 1 in each nostril. She frowned like I was offering her broccoli dipped in sadness. I handed her the nasal spray, then glanced at the time. We were okay. We were okay. We were... Andrew walked into the kitchen, freshly showered, clean-shirted, looking like a man who had no idea what was in our medication pouch, or what it cost, or why the school nurse had my number saved under Asthma Mom. He kissed the top of Katie's head. Then he looked at me and said, You sure you need to fly out for this? Seems like a lot. I didn't bite. I didn't even blink. It's the specialist, I said. And we need updated documentation for school, and her meds have been inconsistent. Andrew made a face like I'd said, We need to pay taxes. Okay, he said, too quickly. Whatever you think. My husband used to say that like it was supportive. Lately, it sounded like someone agreeing to a movie they didn't want to watch. I zipped Katie's backpack. I grabbed the snack bag. I grabbed my laptop. Because I own a small chain of coffee shops, and the universe does not care if you're flying for your kids' lungs. There are still invoices. There is still payroll. Oat milk does not order itself. Then I grabbed the medication pouch and set it right next to my purse. Right there. Right in front of me. Which is important. Because apparently my brain has a feature where, if I'm stressed, it will temporarily uninstall common sense. We got a rideshare to SeaTac. Katie chatted about cartoons. I answered 2 work calls. I remembered to breathe. We got into the terminal. We had boarding passes. We even had time to hit the bathroom. And then, as we sat near our gate, I opened my tote bag to do my usual, I'm a responsible parent check. Snacks? Yes. Water? Yes. Tablet? Yes. Headphones? Yes. Medication pouch? No. I stared into my bag like the inhalers were going to materialize out of guilt. Nothing. No spacer. No nasal spray. No antihistamines. No folder with the referral and her last notes. Just me, a growing sense of doom, and a child whose lungs occasionally decide to get creative. At least I always kept her rescue inhaler in my purse, my non-negotiable rule. But without the rest of her meds and paperwork, the appointment was pointless. So yes. I turned around. I closed my eyes for 1 second. Then I stood up. Katie looked up at me. Mom? We forgot your med pouch. And your paperwork, I said. She went wide-eyed. Not because she was scared, but because kids can sense when adults are about to speed-run a mistake. Oh, she whispered. Yeah, I said. So we're turning around. We took a rideshare back to our condo building downtown like we were escaping a situation. Which, turns out, we were. The elevator ride to the 7th floor felt like it took 1,000 years. Katie leaned against me. I could feel her little heartbeat through her jacket. Are you mad? She asked quietly. I'm not mad at you, I said. I'm mad at my own brain. Different. She nodded like that made sense, because kids accept your chaos as long as you label it. When we got to our floor, the hallway was too quiet. I slid my key into the lock and turned it slowly. I wasn't trying to sneak. I just didn't want to startle anyone, because Andrew should have been at work. But when the door opened a crack, I heard voices. 2 voices. Andrew's and Carol's. Carol is Andrew's mother. She's the kind of woman who says, I'm just being honest, right after she's been cruel. The kind of woman who considers boundaries a personal insult. I paused, hand still on the door, and listened without meaning to. Katie stood beside me, clutching her backpack strap. Inside, Carol said, Just be nice for a few more weeks. That's all you have to do. Andrew sighed. I am being nice. Carol made a small disbelieving sound. You're sulking. Andrew's voice sharpened. I'm not sulking. I'm tired. Carol. Good. Stay tired. It means you'll actually do something. There was a clink, like a mug being set down. Andrew said lower, I'm so tired of her. I wish we didn't have kids. Time stopped. Katie's body went stiff beside me. My stomach dropped so hard I swear it hit the lobby. Carol didn't gasp. Carol didn't say, That's horrible. Carol said, Well, we can't change that now, so we change everything else. Andrew muttered, I didn't sign up for this. The inhalers, the school nurse calling, the rules, He exhaled. The whole house smells like medicine half the time. Carol. Stop whining. Focus. The HELOC is approved. My blood turned to ice. Andrew. And the closing? Are you sure it's scheduled? Carol. Yes. Title company on Maple Street. Next week. You'll go in with the power of attorney and sign what needs signing. Andrew. What if they call Emily? Carol. They won't if you do it correctly. And she's distracted anyway. She's always distracted. She's living in a cloud of tissues and prescriptions. Andrew. I don't want her to find out. Carol laughed. Oh, Andrew, she'll find out eventually. That's why we do it fast. Get the money out, then you can feel terrible, and she can cry into her artisanal coffee. Andrew snapped. It's not funny. Carol's voice went syrupy. It's survival. You deserve a life. A normal life. Not this asthma schedule. Andrew said, and this is the line that burned itself into my brain. I'm done. I don't want to deal with her. I don't want to deal with any of it. Katie made a tiny noise, like a swallowed sob. I didn't burst in. I didn't slam the door open. I didn't scream. Because my daughter was right there, and because stress is not great for asthma. Like, at all. So I bent down, covered her hand with mine, and whispered, Eyes on me, okay? We're going to leave. Quietly. Katie's eyes were huge. Mom. I know, I murmured. We'll talk. Not here. We backed away from the door like we were defusing a bomb. Then we walked down the hallway with the calm, casual pace of two people who definitely weren't falling apart. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. We stepped in. The doors closed. Only then did I let myself breathe. Katie's lips trembled. Did Dad mean that? I crouched down so I was eye level with her. Dad said something cruel, I said. And people say cruel things when they're selfish and angry. Is it because I'm sick? She whispered. No. I said it fast. Too fast. Then I softened. No, sweetheart. Your asthma isn't your fault. Your body just needs extra help sometimes. That's all. She stared at the elevator floor. I put 2 fingers under her chin gently. Look at me. You are not a burden. You are a kid. And kids deserve to be loved and protected. Always. Katie blinked hard. I don't want him to hate me. My chest tightened like I was the one with asthma. He doesn't get to put that on you, I said. That's adult stuff. That's his mess, not yours. She nodded like she was trying to understand something way too big for 7. I took a breath and said, Do you feel tight in your chest? She shook her head, but her breathing was shallow. Okay, I said. We're going to go somewhere safe, and I'm going to handle everything. And then, because life loves timing, my phone buzzed with a work notification about a supplier issue. I looked at it, then at Katie's pale face, and I thought, no, not today, not ever again. We went straight to my friend Lisa's place. Lisa is one of those rare adults who can hear something happened in your voice and immediately pivot into action without asking for a full PowerPoint. She opened the door, saw Katie's face, and said, Shoes off, kiddo. Couch, blanket. Do you want apple slices or goldfish? Katie managed a tiny nod. Then Lisa looked at me. Not dramatic, just steady. What happened? She asked. I swallowed. My throat felt scraped raw. I need you to watch Katie for a while, I said. And I need you not to panic. Lisa's eyebrows rose. Okay, those are 2 things I can do. Try me. I took a breath. Andrew and Carol are planning something financial. With my condo, Lisa's face changed immediately. Like, scammy financial? Yes. Like, felony financial? Yes. Lisa exhaled. Okay, she said. That is not great. No, I agreed. It's not great. Katie's little voice floated over from the couch. Mom? I walked over, sat beside her, and smoothed her hair back. Hey, I said softly. She whispered, Are we going to the doctor? We're going to reschedule, I said. I promise. The doctor isn't going anywhere. She nodded, then said, Is Dad going to take our house? My heart cracked. No, I said firmly. No one is taking our home. She studied me like she was searching for a lie. You swear? I looked straight at her. I swear. She relaxed a fraction. Not all the way. Just enough to breathe. Lisa made tea. For Katie, she found a juice box. For me, she handed me coffee like she understood that caffeine is a legal coping mechanism. Tell me, Lisa said, sitting across from me. So I did. In short bursts. Like I was afraid if I spoke in full paragraphs, I'd start crying. HELOC, power of attorney, title company. Just be nice for a few more weeks. I wish we didn't have kids. Lisa's jaw tightened. I'm going to say something, she said, and you're not going to like it. I've had a pretty rough morning, I said. Go for it. You need to assume Andrew is capable of more than you think, Lisa said. If he's willing to say that about Katie, he's willing to do other things too. I stared into my coffee. Because she was right. Andrew and I had been together for 11 years, married for 8, When we met, he was charming, funny, low drama, and I'm not an idiot. I don't fall for every smile. I was building my business even back then, one little cafe at a time, starting with a cramped spot and a second-hand espresso machine that sounded like a dying lawnmower. Andrew liked the idea of me being ambitious, as long as it didn't inconvenience him. The first cafe did well, the second cafe did better, then a third. Suddenly, I wasn't Emily with a cute hobby. I was Emily with payroll. Andrew liked that too, until he didn't. Around the time Katie was diagnosed with asthma, around the time our house turned into a cycle of meds, appointments, and please call the nurse emails, Andrew started changing. He wasn't cruel at first, just absent, then irritable, then weirdly interested in my finances. He'd ask about my business checking account like he was just curious. He'd ask about the condo title like it was just conversation. He'd look at my laptop screen over my shoulder and say, "Wow, those numbers are big." I thought it was awkward support. Turns out it was reconnaissance. Lisa said, "Okay, step 1. You call the lender." "I don't even know where to start," I said. Lisa looked at me like I'd forgotten my own name. "Emily," she said, "you own multiple businesses. You can absolutely do this." "Thanks," I muttered. "It's nice to know my panic is not convincing." "Your panic is very convincing," Lisa said. "It's just not helpful." Katie coughed softly from the couch. I froze like every mom of an asthmatic child freezes. "Baby?" I called gently. "I'm okay," she whispered. I watched her breathing for a beat. She was okay. Just allergies. Still, my nerves were stretched tight. I pulled out my phone, and I called my lender. The lender's automated system was a masterpiece of modern cruelty. Press 1 for mortgages, press 2 for home equity products, press 3 if you enjoy suffering. I made it through, did the verification dance, and finally got a loan officer named Michael. Michael sounded like a normal human being, which in customer service is basically a miracle. "Hi," I said. "I need to know if there are any recent loan applications tied to my property." There was a pause. Keyboard clicking. "Yes," Michael said carefully. "There's an active HELOC application." My grip tightened on the phone. "Active how?" "It's approved," he said. "Closing is scheduled." I looked at the wall like it was going to explain how my life got here. "I didn't apply for it," I said. Silence. Then Michael's voice changed. Less cheerful, more professional. "Okay," he said. "Do you recognize the co-applicant?" "There shouldn't be a co-applicant," I said. Another pause. "There isn't," he said slowly. "But there is a power of attorney on file." My blood ran cold. "That's fake," I said. "My husband and his mother are doing something." Michael didn't argue. He didn't tell me I was overreacting. He didn't ask if I was sure. He said, "I'm escalating this to our fraud team right now. You need to file a police report for identity theft and forgery." "Okay," I said. "How do I stop the closing?" "We can place a hold," he said, "but we need documentation. Police report number, statement, and you'll likely need to speak to the title company." I exhaled. "Okay," I said, because okay is what you say when your entire marriage collapses into a crime investigation. Michael added, "And, Miss Parker?" "Yes." "If your husband has access to your accounts or documents, you should secure everything. Passwords, 2-factor authentication, everything." "I will," I said. Then I hung up and stared at my phone like it had insulted me. Lisa's eyes were locked on my face. "It's real," she said. "It's real," I confirmed. Katie's little voice again. "Mom?" I walked to the couch and sat beside her. "Hey," I said, smiling like my face wasn't aching from holding it together. She whispered, "Are we staying here?" "For a little while," I said. "A sleepover with Lisa." Her eyes widened. "Can we have pancakes?" Lisa snorted. "Absolutely." I kissed Katie's forehead. "Go pick a movie," I told her. When she hopped off the couch, Lisa leaned toward me. "Police report," she said. "Now." So I did. The precinct on Jefferson Avenue smelled like old coffee and fluorescent lighting, which felt fitting because my life had become a bad office break room. I met Detective Peterson, who looked like a man who had heard every variation of "my spouse did something terrible" and had long ago stopped being surprised. He listened while I explained the HELOC, the power of attorney, the title company, and the fact that my husband and his mother were discussing it like it was a grocery list. Detective Peterson asked, "Do you have any evidence?" I hesitated. Then I said, "I recorded a little." Lisa had told me earlier, quietly, firmly, "If you ever hear them talking again, record it. Don't be noble. Be smart." So yes. Back at the door, after the first shock, I'd hit record. My hands were shaking. The audio was muffled, but it caught key words. HELOC, power of attorney, closing. "Be nice for a few more weeks." Detective Peterson listened, expression unreadable, then nodded. "That helps," he said. "A lot." He asked about the power of attorney. Did I ever sign one? Did Andrew ever mention one? Did I trust Carol with paperwork? "No," I said. "God, no." He wrote things down, then said, "We're going to request the loan file and the notarization record." "The notarization record?" I repeated. Detective Peterson's mouth twitched. "This is where it gets interesting," he said. "A lot of these closings use remote online notarization now. If that's the case, there's a video record." A video record? My stomach flipped. Because if there was video, there was proof. And if there was proof, there was no way Andrew could gaslight his way out. Detective Peterson gave me the case number and said, "Don't confront him. Don't tip them off. Let the fraud team and us do our jobs." Lisa's voice echoed in my head. "Assume he's capable of more than you think." I nodded. "Okay," I said. Then I walked out of the precinct and sat in my car, hands on the steering wheel, breathing slowly. I thought of Katie's face in the hallway, how pale she'd gone, how she'd tried not to cry because she didn't want to make things worse. And I felt something inside me go still. Not numb. Focused. If Andrew wanted a plan, fine. I could plan too. 2 days later, Michael called me back. "I have an update," he said. "Please tell me it's good," I said. "It's clear," he corrected gently. "Our fraud team pulled the documents. The power of attorney is notarized through an online notary platform." "Meaning there's video," I said. "Yes," Michael replied. "Detective Peterson requested it. We're coordinating with the title company." My heart hammered. Later that afternoon, Detective Peterson called. "We got the recording," he said. "And?" My voice shook. "It's not you," he said. I closed my eyes. Relief and rage crashed together in my chest. Detective Peterson continued. "The signer is a woman. Similar build, similar hair color. But it's not you. The ID she held up was questionable." "Questionable," I repeated, because I needed him to say it again like it would make it less real. He said, "We also have your husband's involvement in scheduling. The appointment is set for 8 days from now at the title company on Maple Street." 10 days. My brain latched on to the number like it was a lifeline. 10 days meant I could prepare. 10 days meant I could protect Katie. 10 days meant I could make sure Andrew didn't walk away with money and a story about how I was crazy. Detective Peterson asked, "Do you want us to arrest him now? Or do you want us to catch him at closing?" I pictured Andrew's face. Not the face from our wedding photos. The face from the kitchen, heard through the door. Tired. Annoyed. Indifferent. "I want it clean," I said. "Catch him." Detective Peterson paused. "Okay," he said. "Then you're going to have to keep acting normal." I laughed once. It wasn't funny. "Oh," I said. "I can act normal." Because mothers are actresses by default. We smile through fevers and tantrums and sleep deprivation. We host birthdays while running on fumes. We answer emails while cleaning up vomit. Acting normal while my husband plotted against me? Honestly, not even my hardest role. For the next 8 days, I lived 2 lives. In one life, I was a business owner, a mom, and a normal wife. In the other life, I was quietly locking down everything Andrew could touch. Step 1. Katie. I called her school and updated the pickup list. Only me and Lisa. No Andrew. No family friend. No Carol. The school secretary didn't ask questions because this is America and every school has seen at least one divorce situation that made them regret choosing education as a career. I met with the school nurse and handed her an updated asthma action plan. "I also need to make sure," I said carefully, "that no one can change Katie's emergency contacts without my permission." The nurse gave me a look that said, "Oh, that kind of situation." "Got it," she said. "We'll note it." Step 2. My money. I changed passwords. Every password. Banking, payroll, vendor accounts, email, even the streaming services, because I was not about to let Andrew keep watching my Hulu with my dignity. 2-factor authentication on everything. I moved important documents, birth certificates, property paperwork, insurance policies, into a safe deposit box. Lisa helped because Lisa doesn't believe in doing scary things alone. "Do you feel like a spy?" she asked as we walked out of the bank. "I feel like a woman who learned her husband is an idiot," I said. "That's most spies," she replied. Step 3. Andrew. Andrew came home every night and performed husband theater. "How was your day?" he'd ask. "Busy?" I'd say. "How's Katie?" he'd ask with the soft voice. The voice that almost sounded real. "She's okay," I'd reply, watching him like he was a puzzle made of snakes. One evening he said, "You know, if you ever needed extra cash, like for medical stuff, we could look at a line of credit." I almost dropped my fork. I smiled instead. "Oh?" I said, like this was casual conversation and not a confession. He shrugged. "Just thinking out loud." "Interesting," I said, and took another bite of salad like my mouth wasn't full of nails. Carol texted me during those 10 days too. Always something nice. "How's sweet Katie? I saw this article about air purifiers. You should take better care of yourself, Emily. Stress isn't good for the immune system." Carol's kindness was like perfume sprayed over trash. I ignored most of it. But on day 6, Carol called. I didn't want to answer. Lisa said, "Answer it. Let her think everything's fine." So I did. "Hi, Carol," I said, bright. "Oh, Emily," Carol said, warm as a knife. "How's our little Katie doing?" I forced myself to stay calm. "She's okay," I said. "We're managing." "Good," Carol purred. "You know, Andrew worries." I almost laughed. "He does?" I asked. "Oh, yes," she said. "He just wants what's best for the family." I stared at the wall. "The family," I repeated. Carol continued. "And you've been so busy. With the shops, with appointments, with everything. You must be exhausted." "Yes," I said truthfully. Well, she said, if you ever need help, you know I'm here. I pictured her in my kitchen, plotting my financial destruction. You're so kind, I said. My voice didn't crack. I was proud of myself. After I hung up, I went into the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. My face looked normal, but my eyes looked different, like someone who had stopped believing in excuses. Katie, meanwhile, was doing what kids do. She drew pictures, she watched cartoons, she asked for pancakes, and sometimes, when she thought I wasn't looking, she watched me like she was checking if I was still there. One night, as I tucked her into bed, she whispered, "Mom?" "Yes, baby." "Do you still love Dad?" she asked. My throat tightened. "I love the part of him I thought was real," I said carefully. Katie frowned. "But he said he didn't want kids." I sat on the edge of her bed and smoothed her blanket. "Sometimes adults say things they don't understand," I said. "Sometimes adults are wrong." "Is he wrong about me?" she whispered. "No," I said fiercely. "He's wrong about you. You are wonderful." She stared at her stuffed animal. "Okay," she said softly, like she was trying to accept it. I kissed her forehead. "You and me," I whispered. "We're a team." She nodded. And in that moment, any lingering hesitation I had about what I was doing disappeared. Because this wasn't just about money or property, this was about safety. This was about showing my daughter that when someone tries to hurt you, emotionally, financially, any way, you don't shrink. You act. On day 8, something happened that made the whole thing even uglier. I was at my flagship cafe, the one with the long line and the baristas who can spell Siobhan correctly on the first try, when a woman walked in looking like she hadn't slept in a year. She hovered near the counter, then finally said, "Are you Emily Parker?" "Yes," I said cautiously. She swallowed. "My name is Megan," she said. I think your husband might be... I don't know how to say this." My stomach sank. Megan glanced down at the stroller beside her. A toddler, Timothy, sat inside, chewing on a toy, oblivious. Megan's hands shook as she continued. "Andrew told me you were separated," she said. "He said he was moving out soon. He said you were... unstable." Lisa's words echoed again. "Assume he's capable of more than you think." I motioned Megan to a quiet table. She sat, gripping her coffee like it was an anchor. "I didn't come to ruin your life," she said quickly. "I didn't even know. He asked me for money. He said he needed help because you were draining him with medical bills and he couldn't access his accounts." My jaw clenched. "He asked you for money?" I repeated. Megan nodded, eyes shining. "He said once he got this loan sorted, he'd pay me back. He made it sound temporary." Timothy babbled, happy. Megan looked at him, then at me. "I feel stupid," she whispered. I took a slow breath. "You're not stupid," I said. "You were manipulated." She hesitated. Is he dangerous?" I thought of the hallway, the voice, the plan. "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I know he's willing to do illegal things, and I know he's willing to lie to your face while doing them." Megan's shoulders sagged. "I have messages," she said. "Screenshots. If you need them." "I do," I said. Because if Andrew was running multiple scams, this wasn't just family drama. This was a pattern. When Megan left, I sat alone for a moment in my office behind the cafe and stared at the wall. I felt numb. Then I felt furious. Then I felt strangely clear. Because the story I'd been clinging to, maybe this is just Carol, maybe Andrew is being pressured, fell apart completely. Andrew wasn't a weak man being led. Andrew was an adult making choices, and those choices were going to meet consequences. Day 10 arrived like a storm you can see coming from miles away. Andrew woke up early, he showered, he put on a nice sweater, the "I'm about to sign fraudulent documents" sweater. He whistled while making coffee. Whistled. Like this was a normal day. "Big day?" I asked lightly, because I deserve an Oscar. He blinked, then smiled too fast. "Just work stuff," he said. "Meeting." "Have fun," I said, sipping my coffee like I wasn't counting down to his downfall. Carol texted me at 9:12 a.m., "Today's the day. Stay calm," which, honestly, was hilarious. Because Carol didn't realize I was calm. I was calm like a locked door. At 10:30 a.m., I walked into the title company on Maple Street. The office looked exactly like every office where people sign their souls away. Beige walls, polite receptionist, a bowl of mints that tasted like regret. Michael was there. 2 security officers. Detective Peterson, wearing plain clothes, sitting in a corner like a man waiting for a bus. He nodded at me. "You okay?" he asked quietly. I nodded. "I've had worse mornings," I said. "From what I've seen," he said. "I believe you." We sat in a small conference room. My hands were folded in my lap. I forced myself not to fidget. This part was the hardest. Not the confrontation, not the paperwork, the waiting. Because waiting gives your brain time to replay every moment and try to convince you you're overreacting. Then the door opened. Andrew walked in first. Carol followed right behind him, chin up, handbag clutched like she was arriving at a gala. Andrew froze when he saw me. For half a second, his face went blank. Then it rearranged itself into confusion. "Emily," he said, like I was the one who'd done something shocking. Carol's eyes narrowed. "What is this?" she snapped. Michael stood calmly. "Mr. Parker," he said, "we need to discuss irregularities in your HELOC file." Andrew's throat bobbed. "Irregularities?" Detective Peterson stood. "Andrew Parker?" Andrew's eyes flicked to him, then to me. "What is—" "This is a fraud investigation," Detective Peterson said evenly. Carol's mouth tightened. "This is ridiculous," she hissed. "We have a notarized power of attorney." Michael lifted a folder. "We've reviewed the notarization," he said, "including the video record." Andrew's face drained of color. Carol snapped, "That video proves nothing." Detective Peterson looked at her. "Ma'am," he said, "the video shows a woman who is not Emily Parker signing as Emily Parker." Carol's jaw clenched. Andrew turned to me, eyes wide, a mix of panic and rage. "You set me up," he whispered. I tilted my head. "No," I said. "You set yourself up. I just stopped you from finishing." Carol lunged forward, pointing at me like I was a disobedient employee. "How dare you do this to your family?" Detective Peterson's voice sharpened. "Ma'am, step back." Andrew started talking fast, the way guilty people talk when they think speed can replace truth. "It's a misunderstanding," he said. "I was trying to help us. Emily's been overwhelmed and Michael cut him off. "Sir," he said calmly, "you attempted to borrow against a property without authorization, using a forged document. That is not help. That is fraud." Andrew's lips parted. No sound came out. Carol hissed, "Emily, you ungrateful—" I looked at her and smiled slightly. "Carol," I said, "you told him to be nice for a few more weeks." Her eyes widened, just a fraction. Detective Peterson reached into his pocket. "Andrew Parker," he said, "you are being detained pending further investigation into identity theft and loan fraud." Andrew's face twisted. "Emily." I held up a hand. "Don't," I said softly. "Not here." Carol's voice rose. You can't do this! Detective Peterson motioned, and the two officers stepped forward. Andrew stumbled backward. Then the cuffs clicked. The sound was small, but it landed like thunder. 10 days after my daughter heard her father wish she didn't exist, he was being led out of an office by police. Carol tried to follow, yelling. Security blocked her. And suddenly, for the first time in a long time, the air in my chest felt lighter. Not happy. Not triumphant. Just free of the illusion that love would fix someone who preferred convenience over character. That afternoon, I picked Katie up from Lisa's. She looked at my face like she could read it. Kids can't read words, but they can read energy. Is Dad mad? She asked quietly. I crouched down and brushed her hair behind her ear. Dad made choices, I said, and now grown-ups are handling it. Is he coming home? She asked. I took a breath. Not right now. Her eyes filled. Did I do something? No, I said, firm but gentle. You didn't do anything. You are not too much. You are not a problem. You are a kid who deserves to feel safe. She nodded, then buried her face into my shoulder. Lisa stepped aside, giving us space, but her eyes were soft. You're doing good, she murmured. I hugged Katie until her breathing slowed, until her little shoulders relaxed, until I could hear the normal rhythm of her breath and not the fear behind it. The next weeks were paperwork, locks changed, accounts secured, temporary custody filed. Detective Peterson called a few times with updates, using words like investigation and evidence and prosecutor's office in a tone that made it clear this wasn't going away quietly. Andrew hired a lawyer, Attorney Morgan, who left me a voicemail about amicable resolution. I listened once, then deleted it, because there is nothing amicable about forging documents and emotionally gutting a 7-year-old. Megan sent me screenshots of Andrew's messages. Detective Peterson took them. It added weight to the case. Carol tried calling, she tried texting, she tried showing up at my cafe like she had a right to the space. She didn't. I told my staff, if Carol Parker walks in, call me, and if she causes a scene, call security. One barista asked, wide-eyed, is she banned? She's emotionally banned, I said. Legally, we're working on it. Katie asked about her grandma one night. I didn't lie. Grandma Carol made some bad choices, I said. Katie frowned. Why? I tucked her blanket around her. Some people want control more than they want peace, I said. And sometimes they confuse those things. Katie thought about that, then said, I want pancakes. I laughed once. Me too, baby. Because here's the truth. Parenting teaches you how to live through chaos. You don't get the luxury of falling apart for a week. You get 5 minutes in the bathroom maybe, and then you make dinner. You make the appointment. And yes, we rescheduled the specialist visit. A few weeks later, Katie and I flew out again. This time, I triple-checked the medication pouch like it was my passport to sanity. At the clinic, the doctor was kind and blunt. We updated Katie's action plan, adjusted her controller medication, talked triggers, talked school accommodations, talked about how anxiety can mimic asthma symptoms and how to handle that gently. Katie got a sticker that said, Brave Patient. She held it up proudly. Mom, she said. I did it. You did, I said, and I meant it in every possible way. On the way out, she asked, Can we get ice cream? I looked at her little face, still soft, still hopeful, still mine to protect. Yes, I said. We can get ice cream. And as we walked into the bright afternoon air, I realized something simple. Asthma is a routine. Paperwork is a routine. Raising a kid is a routine. But I will never, ever build my routine around a man who thinks my daughter is an inconvenience. Not again. Appreciate you being here. If you enjoyed this, please like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Drop a comment with your thoughts because I read them all. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon with another story.